Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to your August connection session. I am Princess India if you're new. And if you're family, welcome back, my friends. So we're going to be looking at the energy between you as well as a person of interest. And then we're getting into a more specific spread where we're going to be looking at your person of interest and how it is they think as well as feel about you. So let's hop right in. Sag, the overall energy representing you all for the month of August is the Five of Wands in the reverse. Interesting. So there is a need. Well, I'm not gonna necessarily say a need. Well, I'm not gonna say a need. I would just say it would behoove, and it may be something that's kind of on your mind. I do feel that there's some sort of a breakdown in communication and fraternizing with your person of interest. So I feel that there's some level of distance between the two of you. It's a possibility you guys may have had some sort of a fallout or a potential argument. It feels to me in nature more or less like a power struggle, like kind of feeling as if like your person doesn't respect your boundaries or something like that, like them not respecting your boundaries, or feeling like I just heard in my head, I can't even say that this is my guys. I think that's just my brain. But the thing I heard is like they're trying to little girl you or little boy you in so many ways, or your person may feel as if you guys are trying to do that. But whatever the case, I feel like there was some sense of contention or conflict between the two of you that's kind of caused a rift. But I do feel that Sag is kind of in a place to where you're wondering what's going on with them. So potentially, are they talking to someone else? Have they moved on? What are they doing with their time? If you're looking at their social media and seeing they're going out a lot, it's kind of wondering like what that's all about. So I can say in some sense or another, Sag is still invested in this person to a certain extent, or has a vested interest in what it is that they're doing when they're not with you, right? So I do feel like that's kind of bothering you guys. Now, your person of interest, they're showing up as the Two of Cuppies in the reverse. Now, with this, that kind of says to me, your person is kind of feeling like the two of you are not on the same page right now. So more or less, there's an epic disconnect between the two of you. Now, I do feel they're kind of questioning the connection. I feel like they're kind of questioning their emotions for you. Some of them may be kind of taking it far of, and I don't know if this is maybe like, I don't know if it's like you guys' first kind of big argument or something along those lines, but I feel with them, it's kind of the energy they're in is like taking it to the extreme. You feel what I'm saying? Like where you guys have an argument and they're like, oh, well, I guess it's over now. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how do you just go from like we had a disagreement? How are you all the way over here? So it's a tad bit of kind of disaster thinking that I feel on their end. And it's just like, oh, they're not talking to me. They got upset with me. So I guess like we not together no more. Like that's kind of the vibe I get from your person of interest. Now the energy between the two of you, oh, that's cute. Well, sort of. Okay, they have clothes on. We have the Eight of Cuppies. Now, what this kind of says to me, Sag, I don't think that this is the first time this has happened. I totally take that back. This to me feels like a pattern that repeats with you guys a lot, to where it's almost like your person, they're very all or nothing. And of course, we're going to get more into them when we get into their think and feel spread or whatever. But they're kind of all or nothing with stuff. So, you know, an argument happens, something happens, anything happens. They're just like, oh, so I guess, you know, that's just it. They're not going to want to fool with me anymore. And I feel with Sag, it's more or less, if you're not speaking to them, what your goal is like hoping they pick up what you're putting down. You know what I'm saying? Or almost trying to implement like a consequence. Like if you're going to talk to me like this, I'm not going to talk to you. Or if you behave like this, I'm not going to see you, type of deal, hoping that they kind of pick up on it. But I don't necessarily think that they are, you know what I'm saying? And I don't even feel with this either well, I mean, it could go both ways. I don't necessarily feel with this that the person of interest is, but that, yeah, it could go both ways. Honestly, what it is that my first inclination is I don't necessarily feel that this person is the one that's like always kind of trying to run back to, patch things up. But I don't necessarily feel Sag is doing that either. You know what I mean? It's almost like the vibe I would feel with this is like Sag calling the person, like, y'all don't talk for like a week or something. And Sag calls and is like, so you're really just not going to talk to me for a week type of vibe. And the person being like, nah, I had this and this going on. I figured you was mad. And then you guys inadvertently end up talking it out. You know what I mean? And you end up kind of back to the same old thing, but then they go back to the same old behavior and the whole thing kind of happens again. So it's almost like there has to be a method to the madness. You know what I mean? To where if their behavior pattern is the same every time you guys are getting back together, it's like, giving them a consequence clearly isn't working. So we kind of need to switch up the approach, is kind of the vibe that I'm getting. And I mean, I don't know, I could be speaking too soon, but kind of the vibe I get from this Sag is there's more or less a need for Sag to take a step back and in this time frame, as opposed to hoping that whatever you implemented for them to kind of wake up, or putting energy on what it is that they're doing in the meantime, in between time. Because it just feels very much to me like whatever Sag did, your intention is to give this person a wake-up call. But I feel there's a disconnect because the person isn't getting it. Like what you're hoping that they get, they're not getting it. And that's what's kind of causing this cycle to repeat itself. But I feel there's a need for Sag to kind of take a step back and look at the bigger picture and to be like, is this really something you want to be involved in? Because if you've given this person so many chances and they're really not getting it, it's like the only thing we can really have for the foreseeable future is what has repeated itself up to this point, continuing to repeat itself into the foreseeable future. Now, getting into our more specific spread, first, we're looking at their fleeting thoughts. The first card that we have, interesting, is the Eight of Swords. Then we have the Six of Pentacles. Interesting. Then we have the Page of Wands in the reverse. Interesting. And then their conscious thoughts. We have the Strength in the reverse, and that is Leo energy. This is very, very fascinating. Okay. So starting out with this Ace of Swords, Sagittarius. Y'all people of interest are very interesting this month, I'll say that. Your person of interest, they're weighing their options in reference to you, but they feel, well, I'm not going to say feel, but their perception of you is more or less that you are between a rock and a hard place. Like you're kind of at a crossroads with them. And this is just what I'm picking up on intuitively. And this is like the second time that this would be coming up. And maybe, no, that wasn't with Leo. That was with Virgo. But they feel like you're between a rock and a hard place because there's some sort of investment between you and this person. And I mean, it very well could just be time. You know what I mean? But this person I keep saying feel, but their thought of you is more or less that you're like knee deep into this situation with them. So it's kind of you being stuck. Now, another way I could see this is that there's some sort of investment the two of you have. And that could be anything from having a kid together. You know what I'm saying? You guys owning property together. You guys having, a business together, some sort of project together. I don't know why I wanted to say like podcast. Like, I don't know if y'all have a podcast together or something along those lines. There's something where there's a connection, and I mean, it could even be the two of you live in the same house. You know what I'm saying? There's something that you've invested with this person to where you seem to be stuck or they perceive you to be stuck. So it's this thought of you not necessarily being able to go that far and like them being aware of that. You know what I'm saying? Or, like I said, simply put, it could just be time that you've invested into this person. And I don't know, this is coming with a whole narrative. Time you've invested with this person, or it being like your age. Like if you've invested so much time with this person and your age to where the mindset would kind of be like, I have to make this work. You know what I mean? Because it's like starting all over at this point in my life. I don't want to have to start all over. So it's like this person being aware that that's, kind of the situation that you're in. But then also with the Six of Pentacles, which I'm not necessarily a fan of this, is them being aware also that the only thing that you're really wanting is a level of reciprocity. Like whatever it is that you're investing into this and what you're doing for this person or how you're showing up for this person, it's this thought of knowing that all you're really wanting is balance. So in so many words, is them knowing that there's a certain level of you that's really heavily invested into this connection, and that what you're asking for really isn't that much. Like I'm just asking you, like I give you an apple, give me back an apple. I'm really not asking for that much, but at the same time, with this Page of Wands in the reverse, not necessarily a fan of this, because this is such a thing. This person, your person of interest, they know, I don't want to say a lot, but sort of. You may not think it's a lot, but it's a lot to them about past relationships that you've been in. And something this person is aware of is, and this may be a shocker to you, Sag, how it is that you look at this person. You see this person as different from your past relationships, like people you've dated in the past. Your perception of them is as you see them as different. This person's perception of themselves, based on what they know about your past relationships, they don't see themselves as that much different than people that you've dated in the past. And with this particular Sag person, you have a tendency, and I mean, there might be the Sages that resonate with this. You may not be Sagittarius sun signs, because this is feeling to me like moon or rising or even Venus Sages. It doesn't necessarily feel to me like a Sag that's a prominent sun sign. Not saying that it's not you, but that's just what it feels like to me. But anywho, but this person knows you kind of have a track record of like prioritizing other people's best interests over your own. You know what I mean? And them knowing this from your past relationships. And the thing I'm saying is this isn't like you've said this to this person. You haven't been like, yeah, so I have a tendency to date this kind of person, and I have a tendency to put myself on the back burner. No, it's not that. It's just them picking up context clues from conversations you've had. Example of this could be like, say in your last relationship, the person you were with cheated on you, right? But y'all broke up for 2 weeks. Y'all got back together, stayed together for 3 years after that. And then you found out they were cheating on you again. And then like you broke up, right? The context clues this person gets from that is like cheating really, like she says cheating is a deal breaker for her, but it's really not, because last dude cheated on her. She was mad for 2 weeks, let him back, stayed with him. He cheated on her for 3 more years. And after this particular last time, that's when it was too much. So it's like, I have this much leeway because she's really understanding, right? That's the context clues that he picks up from what it is that you said, right? And not saying that's literally what's happening, but just to give you an example of what I mean. So with this person, they're aware you see them as different, but what they hear about people you dated in the past, they don't see themselves as much different from those people. You feel what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's almost like an anchoring thing here, to where, and for some of you, this could just be like a mental thing. Like I say, the thing that has you knee deep in this situation with them, it just could be a mental thing of you being someone where there's very much like an attachment with this person. But something I can say to you guys, Sagittarius, we're just 3 signs into the connection sessions. And you know, all of my readings always have like a central theme that it connects through all signs. What I'm seeing with the people of interest so far in August, the connecting factor is this person having some sort of an upper hand, of them having insight into your behavior patterns, regardless of what it is that you're projecting. So, kind of how in the spread we look at their fleeting thoughts, their conscious thoughts, and their, subconscious. It's almost like they're seeing the signs I'm reading for's subconscious play out in their behavior. So the truth about you is being acted out in your behavior, but you're not consciously aware of it, and them being aware of like what your fleeting thoughts are, what your conscious thoughts are. You know what I'm saying? And not saying this person's reading your mind, but it's just them being observant. And that's something I know to be true. Like as a therapist, it's like, people come in and tell me 1,000 different things of what they think the issue is and the problems in their life. But as I'm listening, I'm hearing something totally different from what's being said. And I'm like, that's interesting that you feel everyone else is the problem. However, every single job that you've been on, the only common factor is like you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not saying that y'all are the problem here, but I'm saying in the sense of these people of interest, the commonality with them is them knowing you well enough and seeing your kindness and taking it for weakness. And that's very similar to what I'm seeing with your person of interest. Because for them to be aware that the only thing that you're asking for isn't that much, I'm just asking for a little bit of reciprocity because I'm doing this and you're not necessarily reciprocating that, but them also being aware, oh, you have a vested interest here. You really can't leave, or you really don't want to leave. And them also being aware of this connection between them and your past people. It's almost like this person has an advantage over you and you're not even aware that they're aware that there is an advantage, or that even an advantage even exists, or that you even have an Achilles heel. You feel what I'm saying? Now, when we get into their conscious thoughts with the strength in the reverse, this person's perception of you is almost like, I don't want to say weak in the knees, but that's kind of the vibe I'm going for here. I don't know a better way to say that, but it's almost like all of your logic goes out the window with this person. It's like your connection, your care, your love, what have you for this person. It's almost like single you and your thoughts, beliefs, and opinions on things. I would never let a man do this. I would never let, a woman do this. I would never put up with this from somebody. When I get in a relationship, let them try to do X, Y, Z. I'm not about to put up with that. I feel like when, and this is again what I'm picking up intuitively, Sage, I feel that the person who will resonate with this, even though we're talking about how they perceive you, I do believe that there's some level of truth to this, where when you get in relationships with people, it's like a whole nother side of you comes out. So it's like you're no bullshit, you're zero tolerance. These are my boundaries. So kind of like boundaries you implement with coworkers, friends, family members. You're real strong on those, and it's like you're zero tolerance with it. A person crosses your boundaries and you're like, bam, you're out of my life, or consequence, whatever the case, right? But when you get into romantic partnerships, that facet of you doesn't necessarily carry into romantic partnerships. It's almost like you give a lot of leeway to romantic partners and kind of step out of yourself in a sense. So if a romantic partner were to violate the same boundary a friend would, you would cut the friend off. But with the romantic partner, you're like a little bit more understanding. So finding yourself kind of rationalizing it, like they're going through something right now. Oh, they're just like that. When they get upset, they're like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like rose-colored glasses or something that overcomes you when you get into connections with people. And the downside of this, getting back into their perception of you, is almost, well, not almost, it's literally them being aware that you have stepped out of yourself. So you draw a line, in the sand. This person crosses it and you draw another line. and they cross that and you draw another line, is more or less their perception. So it's almost like their thought of you is like you're out of your depth with them, and you're almost out of control of yourself with them because of this effect that this person is having on you. You know what I mean? And again, that can go back to the fact that you can't leave, and I use air quotations because I mean you totally could, but like I said, it's some level of investment that you have where you feel like I can't just walk away. You feel what I'm saying? Now their subconscious impression, not a fan of that. We have the Queen of Cuppies in the reverse. So with this person, in reality, with them, they have a lot of emotional immaturity and emotional immaturity. I don't know why I can't talk. Emotional immaturity and emotional unavailability. There is most certainly mommy issues that are all up in this thing. When it comes to empathy, this person doesn't really have very much. However, when we step into the projection side of this, these are things that they would accuse you of the fact that you're not supportive, you're not there for me, you're not thinking about all of the stuff that I have going on type of deal. I don't necessarily feel this in the sense of like Sag necessarily bringing it to this person on a regular basis. But I feel when you guys reconnect and y'all have conversations, I feel it's almost like any explanation that this person gives you, and mind you, Sagittarius, I'm not saying that this person is telling you like bonkers banana stuff and you're just sitting here with your nose wide open and you're like, okay, like, you disappeared for 2 weeks and you say that your phone died because like you dropped it in a river, like no big deal. Like, I don't feel it's like that. I feel with this person, I don't know, it's almost like a switch that goes off to where you being subjective in it, when this person is giving you an explanation for something, you don't see like anything amiss. It's like, oh, well, that's a logical explanation. Like, I get it, right? But if a friend, like say if your homegirl or homeboy, we're sitting there, it's just like, what do you mean? Like, how is that? But to you, it's like, this is very rash. It's a logical explanation. Like, I'm not gonna jump to conclusions type of deal. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, I feel this aura of the Sag that would resonate with this. I really do feel like this is a girl, like the energy I'm picking up on. But I feel like you kind of believe the hype of how other people perceive you or describe you. And I feel the way that people describe you to you is that, you're hard nosed about your business. You don't take no bullshit from anybody. It's like, oh, girl, you could be a little blunt sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of you believing the hype of that. And that's also something from, your regular everyday life that you translate into relationships. So your assumption is that things that people have said about how you come off, you assume that you're coming off that way to a person that you're dating. You know what I mean? So you're more likely to kind of listen. So when they're just like, oh, you're not there for me, you're not emotionally supportive, or, you be doing XYZ, your mind instantly goes to what friends or coworkers have said. And you're like, wow, people have said that I do that. My computer did the thing. Of course it did. You assume, hold on. I'm going to keep talking. But you assume that you're doing the same thing with your person of interest when that's really not the case. And that's what I'm saying. I really feel like this person is kind of taking advantage of your blind spots. You know what I mean? I have to fix this computer, y'all. Hold on one second. My apologies, Sagittarius. All of you guys know by now my laptop sucks. Please donate to my GoFundMe so I can get a new laptop. Anyway, moving right along. So, like I was saying, with this particular person, with their projection, it's more or less them projecting their own emotionality back on to you. You know what I mean? So it's like with them, there's more or less a lack thereof of emotional vulnerability. So they're not really letting you in. And that takes me back to what I was saying with with this Two of Cups in the reverse, like of them being very black and white with stuff. You know what I mean? To where it's like, oh, y'all get into an argument or y'all have like a misunderstanding. It's like, oh, well, I guess, it's over. You know what I mean? And it's because it's almost like they can't, any person who is emotionally unavailable or emotionally stunted in any way, shape, form, or fashion, it's very hard for them to understand the very paradoxical nature of a relationship, to where you can be really pissed at a person and upset about, their behavior, what they're saying and what they're doing, but still love them. It's like with this person, how they interpret things is like, oh, you're mad at me, so I guess you don't love me no more. You know what I'm saying? Which goes back again to that Eight of Swords, of that level of comfortability that they know because of whatever vested interest you have in this particular partnership. So like I was saying, on the projection end, it's more or less them not being heavily invested into a situation because of their stunted or blocked, however you want to look at it, emotionality, right? Them projecting that onto you. And that's why the assumption is, oh, you're mad at me, we're not together no more. Or you're mad at me, you don't love me no more. Like that very black white sense. Now, when we're looking at their feelings towards you, we have the Page of Cuppies in the reverse. So that's the thing with this person, their feelings towards you, they're very emotionally immature. So on their end, and I have to say this has absolutely nothing to do with you, Sagittarius. It's this person being emotionally inept, right? It's with them, they're not very much in touch with their emotions. They're not in touch with their intuition even, right? And I can say that because of this Queen of Cups in the reverse here in their subconscious. It's more or less this person has suppressed their emotions so much and for so long that there's like a fear tied to emotional vulnerability. And like I said, when I see stuff like this typically goes back to mommy issues, like I said before. But it's with their emotions being so suppressed, they don't necessarily put themselves into a position to where they are, emotionally vulnerable. You know what I mean? So the reason why it's so easy for them to like cut ties, walk away, or not seem to be so affected by the chaos and calamity that's happening in your connection is because they're not fully emotionally invested. That's not because of anything you said or did, or you're not enough or nothing like that. It's literally because this person is emotionally immature and emotionally inept, right? They don't allow themselves to go there, right? So because they don't allow themselves to fully open up in that way, that's what leads their feelings towards you to be kind of on the shallow side. You know what I mean? To where a lot of the stuff that can drive this partnership is them being physically attracted to you, or them thinking that you're cool people, or they like hanging out with you, or whatever the case. But they don't ever allow themselves to get to a point to where, they're fully heart open on the table with a person, because that's fearful for them. They see that as literally in vulnerability, right? A person can have power and control over them if they fully open their hearts. So they only allow themselves to open up so much, which is why it's so easy for them to kind of, cut ties with things. And why, like I was saying with the Six of Pentacles, you're asking for something so simple, which is reciprocity. Like, I love you, I care about you, I'm investing in you. Why can't you do the same thing? And that's because that little thing, and it's really little, that's like asking them for $1 million, because it's like you're asking me to put myself into a position to where I could get hurt, right? But not thinking about how their actions and their behaviors are putting you into a position to be hurt, right? Now, the thing I can say, wrapping this up, Sagittarius, what I can say the pattern is that Sag has is being attracted to people who are emotionally unavailable. Like I was saying with that Page of Wands in the reverse, of them not seeing much of a difference between themselves and people that you've dated in the past. I feel that Sag has a history of dating people that are emotionally unavailable, right? And for yourself with the situation or moving forward, the thing that would behoove you is familiarizing yourself with what that looks like and what the signs of emotional unavailability are. In the new reading that I started doing, Who Is This? ... I suggested a book, and it's for people who had parents like this, But I feel for anyone who has a tendency to date people who are emotionally unavailable, or people who are emotionally immature, because I feel with your person, they're extremely emotionally immature. I suggested that book. I'll link it in the comments and in the description box, but it's called The Adult Child of Emotionally Immature Parents. And like I said, the book is written from the perspective of a child who had parents that are like this. And I mean, sometimes, majority of the time, when we're dating people like this is because we had parents like this. But I feel it's very insightful, because the characteristics that they go into great detail about in that book, I feel it could be helpful in your romantic partnerships to help you to be kind of aware of what those behaviors and those characteristics look like in a person, so you can be more mindful of that. You know what I'm saying? But I feel with this person, like I said in the beginning, how stuff has kind of played out with you guys up until this point, I see that continuing into the foreseeable future, only because this particular person is emotionally immature. And until that's fixed in them, which is no small feat, they can't help but behave like this. So there's no amount of consequences or distance that's going to cause this person to shift or change, because they're like this to keep themselves, protected. And as invested as you are into this partnership, this person isn't as invested into this as you are, right? And whatever you feel that you're knee deep into, you're not as knee deep as you're allowing yourself to believe that you are, right? And when we talk about this Five of Wands in the reverse and like the forgiveness that needs to happen, that forgiveness very well could be for yourself and not necessarily, for this person, because the best apology is change behavior, right? Now I'm going to throw the dice of resonance. This is a little longer than I wanted it to be, but I'm going to throw the dice of resonance. You can ask a yes or no question, but this is a bunch of dice with different stuff on it to see how this resonates with you. So you can ask a question about anything. It could be something related to this reading, or just, a question that you want the answer to. We have female, we have Pisces, we have lover, we have Cancer, and we have moon. So they can be a Cancer or a Pisces moon. So female, a lover. And then the answer to your question is yes. Yes is the answer to your question. So Sag, that has been your connection session for August. Most certainly let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, I love your freaking face, and I will see you guys